Once we had arranged our dining room, we hardly ever used it. We preferred the cozy atmosphere of the kitchen, and that had been the case for a long time. I had set up my work desk there, and its beautifully detailed design offered plenty of room to organize everything I needed. I admit I was somewhat obsessive about cleanliness, and I adored the soft, diffused light that filled the space. Then she walked in, the sound of her new high heels clicking sharply on the floor, announcing her arrival. She called out to me, but I was too focused on my work to respond. Only when I was finished did I finally shout back, "I'm here. Can you come in for a minute?" She rolled her eyes before stepping into the doorway. "What is it?" she asked, clearly in a rush. I pulled her close and wrapped my arms around her. At 47, tall and graceful, she had an alluring figure. Her chest was beautifully proportioned, not too large, but very responsive. Having no children, she hadn't gone through the challenges of post-pregnancy weight, and her weight was nearly the same as it had been when we married 27 years ago. I had always admired her chestnut hair, but I couldn't help feeling a little disappointed when she went blonde 4 months ago. She didn't look quite herself. Perhaps I was just being biased. "I won't take long," I reassured her. "Besides, I have a feeling your meeting might be canceled. Let's go. I'll leave you in peace to finish this up. You made it pretty clear where you prefer me to be." She sighed dramatically, rolling her eyes before sitting down opposite me. "Thanks." As I said, "I'll be brief," I continued. "I want you to think carefully and be honest. This isn't just a hypothetical. I'll mean monetary terms. How much do you think intimacy with you is worth? Do you believe different acts have different values? I know escorts have varying rates." I went on, "I'm not exactly sure how much women charge their affections, but I imagine it's quite a bit. I need your help to set a baseline for some research. In your opinion, is your value closer to that of a courtesan or more like a street worker? Or maybe I should aim for something in the middle." I paused briefly. Should I factor in things like enthusiasm, skill, and seductive elements such as lingerie, or mood setting like soft lighting, candles, or indulgences like strawberries and chocolate? I'm also considering the appeal of motels and similar places. I continued my monologue, observing her expression shift. Her mouth slightly opened in disbelief. When I paused, hoping to give her a chance to respond, she quickly closed it. "What are you talking about? This isn't funny, Donald. It's ridiculous," she said, using my full name, a clear sign of irritation. I knew if I pushed further, she'd explode in anger. "Oh, I get it, Sherry. It's absurd, just like everything else has been since you started flirting with Jameson." "So it's Jameson, is it?" I added. What a pretentious name. It's just some bumpkin in a suit. His friends call him Jimmy Jam. And honestly, that name suits him better. Her eyes narrowed, and I could feel the storm brewing. "Go on, Mount St. Helens. Erupt already?" I muttered. "Told you already. There's nothing going on between us. He doesn't even mean that much to me. Is that really what this is about?" She shot back, clearly upset. "I swear if you mention him again, I'm walking out." I couldn't stop myself from smirking. Jameson, 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 Jameson. Doesn't sound like a backwoods rapper rhyming about his pickup truck, partying, and maybe even getting involved with married women? I see a promising future for him with plenty of money ahead. A flash of surprise crossed her face, but it quickly faded, replaced by a narrow gaze as she seemed to start understanding where I was going with this. "I'm really sorry, Sherry," I said, trying to smooth things over. "I got off track, and it won't happen again. Let's shift the focus back to something more practical. To be honest, I had my reservations about coming here at first. Even though my career was progressing well with every passing day, I began to appreciate this place more and more. Yesterday was pleasant. I even managed to play a round of golf in the last week of February. The weather's been unpredictable, but I've decided to stay here regardless. And you know what I love most about this place?" I continued. "It's one of the few states where you can still file an alienation of affection lawsuit. You can actually sue someone for taking away your spouse, which is pretty rare these days. Of course, it requires a specific set of circumstances to win and receive compensation. But the possibility is still there, and it's intriguing. That's why I've dived deep into this research. I want to compile a thorough report outlining behaviors in question, their frequency, and the methods I've used to gather the data. I have a few video recordings and several witnesses, which should provide a solid foundation for my conclusions. However, it would be really helpful if you could clarify something for me. How much do you think a night with you is worth? Almost like a consultation with an expert. My lawyer found my idea amusing, but ultimately saw its potential, citing precedents. This could change the way people view these types of lawsuits, raising the financial stakes and potentially leading to more settlements. This would benefit the lawyers and make it easier for judges to determine the appropriate financial payouts. I need your cooperation on this. If you don't, my lawyer will make sure your involvement is thoroughly documented step by step. These are the kind of statements I need, and you should consider the benefits you might gain once the separation and divorce papers are signed. After that, any expenses we incur will stop. We won't even need to serve official notice. It's easy enough. Just visit his office. Think ahead about how much you and Jameson can save on gas and hotel expenses if you start living together. By the way, he does have a spare room, if he can persuade his wife to agree. Incidentally, I've shared my findings with her, and she plans to use them in her case against you. So, it might be better if you meet somewhere else. You could even split the attorney's fees with her. His gaze drifted down to Sherry, unconscious on the dining room floor. It wasn't so much a fall as it was like a balloon deflating as she slowly sank down. So much for being an expert consultant. But that was no longer important. The documents I had prepared spoke for themselves. I neatly printed out my research, folded it, and placed it on her chest. She'll find it once she wakes up. In the meantime, my lawyer, Mrs. Jimmy Jam, and I are off to dinner at the best barbecue joint in town. I hope Sherry understands that once that door closes behind her today, there's no going back. Need to change the locks now. It's gotten to the point where I can't even enjoy a meal in peace. Sherry's called me 10 times, and I've had to mute her. At that moment, Mrs. Jimmy Jam was telling one of her funny stories about her wandering husband. She mentioned she was thinking about writing a book titled Life with a Dog. Turns out Sherry wasn't the only woman in his life. She offered to provide me with the addresses of the other wives, so I could share my plan with their husbands once mine was finalized. Odd. After all, we didn't want everyone to flip the script all at once, right? I refocused on her story. Things were far from simple. Sherry wasn't ready to end the marriage. She was genuinely sorry and insisted it would never happen again, claiming she had learned from her mistakes. For 5 months, she fought to salvage the relationship, but eventually she gave up, signed the divorce papers, and went back home. By the time the process started, Jameson had attracted media attention, and the judge, an eccentric old-timer with 2 ex-wives, allowed me to testify as a witness. The courtroom burst into laughter when he tried to blend into the background. Surprisingly, he turned out to be quite wealthy, owning half a car dealership. In the end, I received a much larger settlement than I had anticipated. Mrs. Jameson got the house, and a quarter of the dealership. When everything was said and done, she shared my findings with the other 3 husbands. Turned out he was lucky to keep his job as a car salesman rather than owning a stake in the dealership. For nearly 3 years, I stayed away from women until I met a fiery redhead from the countryside, a widow with 2 young sons. I began coaching her kids in soccer when a friend convinced me to give it a try. At first, things didn't click between us, but over time, we grew closer. She often teased me about my chivalrous gestures in public, holding doors open, pulling out chairs at restaurants, and always being attentive in social settings. She kept joking until our 3rd date, when I finally lost my patience. I told her, if you don't like being treated like a lady, that's your choice. But if you're with me, I will treat you that way. If you want to be treated poorly, go back to where you came from. She looked confused, but quietly waited for me to open her car door. We drove home in silence. Later, as I walked her to her door, she apologized. I did my best to explain my point of view. I was raised with certain values. My grandfather believed women should be treated with respect in public like a lady and in private like a partner. And of course, he had his own views on intimacy. Her eyes glimmered in the moonlight. And if I were to be in a relationship with you, how would I engage with you in that intimate space? I asked, I would cherish you as an incredible individual, focusing on making our time together unforgettable. My goal isn't to dominate or control, but to be a lover who leaves you completely fulfilled. But I feel we haven't reached that moment yet. Do you know what might be holding you back, my dear? Overthinking. The next morning, we were late picking up the boys, and her mom gave us a knowing smile. A year later, when we gathered them around the table to share the news that in 5 months I would be their new dad, they burst out in joy. We had a playful relationship, and I joked to the eldest, telling him he'd be the one to carry the ring. The youngest was curious about his role and asked, "What will my part be?" I replied, "Well, we'll need a flower girl." "Mommy, Daddy wants me to be the flower girl," he exclaimed. I reassured him, "You look absolutely stunning in the dress." He seemed on the verge of tears, so I pulled him into my arms and sat him on my lap. "I'm just kidding, son. How about you carry the ring, and your brother will be the best man?" No one objected, and that's exactly how it went. 5 years later, it's amusing to hear them grumble about having to look after their little sister. After that, I never saw Sherry again. According to my older brother, she lived alone and worked 2 jobs to support herself after the divorce. It was as if she had disappeared. And you know what? I don't regret for a second that Sherry cheated on me and our marriage ended. In fact, I'm grateful to her because now I'm truly happy with the woman who gave me a daughter. The only thing I regret is wasting 27 years on someone who didn't deserve me. This concludes the story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe to the